Welcome to the Miria Systems Active Pay overview. The Miria Active Ops Suite is a fully integrated system for capture and content management. With focus on finance, it's a powerful suite of applications to capture, analyze, report, control and act on your business critical operating data. Most companies start with the Active Pay application, which has a high return on investment and drives accounts payable automation. It is integrated with the Active Mailroom application to virtually eliminate paper from the accounts payable process. Active Ops is hosted in the cloud. All users need is access to the internet for quick insight into their business needs. Let's check it out. The first step in the business process is the capture of incoming paper invoices from mail, fax or scan, which is all managed by the Active Mailroom application. Active Mailroom is like a robot that watches for invoices, identifies them, matches them to existing system data, and then pushes them to the next step of the process. Using very sophisticated OCR technology from IBM, Active Mailroom is able to turn images into data that never needs to be keyed again. It is very intelligent and only needs a mailroom operator to perform a one-off identification of a vendor's invoice format. This verification teaches Active Mailroom to recognize and process future invoices from this vendor without any further human interaction. Only invoices requiring verification will stop in this Verify Batch Documents queue. For all of the invoices where Active Mailroom already recognizes the format, they will auto-process, skip this verification view, and show up in the Active Pay application. Let's see an invoice that needs verification. For each invoice, there is an image on the right-hand side and data on the left. Active Mailroom highlights areas that need to be corrected. In this case, we're showing a new invoice, and Active Mailroom was able to extract key data elements from the invoice. You can see how Active Mailroom identified the invoice number by looking for the word invoice on the right. Likewise, Active Mailroom identified invoice total and invoice date, filling in the information automatically. Because this is a new invoice, we want to match it to a vendor that is already authorized in the accounting system. By typing in DH Gibbs and doing a vendor lookup, this invoice image will now be matched to the approved vendor in the accounting system. The user would continue teaching the system the location of data on the invoice and filling in the line item details. This verification is completed once for each invoice format. The next time this vendor submits an invoice with the same format, the Active Mailroom operator won't even see it, as the invoice will bypass the verify process. As Active Mailroom learns more invoice formats, the automation and straight-through processing increases. Let's check out Active Pay as an accounts payable processor. When a user accesses the Active Pay login, the user's inbox opens with a workflow queue for items routed specifically for that user. Depending on your process, there are also several team queues where invoices may be processed by groups of people. Here is a queue for indexing, where the accounts payable processor is responsible for reviewing the invoices and completing items that will allow it to flow through to the next step in the process. When I open an invoice as an accounts payable processor, the invoice image appears on the right with the associated data on the left. From zooming to annotating the document, it's really easy to view it and add any notes. On the data screen on the left, the accounts payable processor can complete information that requires manual intervention. For example, adding accounting codes, which are controlled from the ERP system through a lookup. All of the labels and fields on the screen are set by the company specifically to their business process. At this point, the accounts payable processor normally has 4 options: complete, reject, save and hold the invoice in their inbox, or release it back to the teamwork queue. They also have the option to check the Get Next box. When they process the current invoice with this box checked, it will automatically open the next invoice in the queue. This is a great feature used by larger organizations to control the process and keep it moving with less human interaction. In the reject screen, you can see that we have different rejection reasons that can be processed and configured according to your business. There are 2 items behind the scenes of every business process step: business process workflows, which can be configured to customer requirements, and business validation rules that can be simple or complex and are used to validate the data in the process. For simplicity, I am just going to complete this invoice, which will clear it from the indexing queue and flow it through to the next step. If this is an invoice which requires a specific person to approve it, it will flow directly to that person's inbox. For example, you can see the business unit field on this invoice, and the workflow would flow it directly to the designated approver for that unit. For some customers, the process is reversed, where all invoices go to the approver first, who would be the one to code the invoice. A few special notes before I jump to the approver view. Firstly, purchase order invoices can be matched to a purchase order feed and then routed via special workflows to the purchasing agent for discrepancies. If there are no issues, the matched invoice can be routed directly for approval. Also, ActivePay has the ability to create a check request within the system and then match it to an invoice at a later date. This is very handy when a local manager needs a check but doesn't have an invoice at the time of the request. Lastly, ActivePay can also manage 1099 and new vendor setup processes easily. Let's switch users and sign in as an approver. As you can see, an approver has less functionality than a processor. Generally, an approver has a limited license that costs much less than an AP license. In this case, there is one invoice in the inbox that needs to be approved. It's the same invoice we processed earlier. Normally, an approver would just click complete to approve it, and it would be forwarded to a posting queue where it is fed to the accounting system. Once the accounting system cuts a check, the check number is passed back to ActivePay, so there is a complete history of the invoice and its payments. Let's take a moment now to show the functions available to all users. Here, on the icon bar, there are 4 icons. The first allows the user to change the invoice routing. For example, if an invoice should be approved by a specific manager, the user can do a quick search for that particular person and send it to them. The second icon allows the user to send an email directly from the system, and the third allows the user to add attachments or collaterals to the document. The last icon gives a complete history of the document throughout the entire accounts payable process. Let's click complete to approve this one and log in as a controller to review more functionality. As the controller, let's start with invoice search. There is a quick invoice search on the left side, and beyond that, advanced search. In advanced search, I can search on virtually anything. For example, let me type in the invoice number and pull up an invoice. If I have a vendor on the phone wanting to know about the payment information, I can tell them everything about that invoice. I can pull up the audit trail and discuss every step in the process. Additionally, some things to understand about ActivePay. There is an administration function where you can view users, set approval limits, or alter which invoices they can see. For example, you may not want one region to see another region's invoices, or you may only want certain people to view legal invoices. In addition, users themselves have the option of setting out-of-office functions, and a power user can reassign invoices from one user to another. In the controller's inbox, you can see that we have specialty views of invoices. Common uses for this are to create a workflow queue for auditing taxes, having random invoice quality audits, or reviewing fixed asset invoices. All of the data in the entire system is fully reportable using Open Reporting or Miria's optional reporting tools. Additional components within ActiveOps are the Active Portal and Active Mobile applications. As a review, this started with invoices going through Active Mailroom, which extracted the data from images. In ActivePay, an accounts payable processor reviewed the invoices and added accounting codes. From there, an approver approved the invoice for posting. This truly is accounts payable processing made easy. This is the ActiveOps way of automation on a smarter platform.